Hi everyone. While I hope and pray for your well being, I was thinking about a metaphor last day. You see, it is the same boiling water which makes a potato soften, whereas it hardens an egg. So it is the circumstances which are same being encountered by every one of us. But these are the people and human beings who behave differently to stand out from the mob. And similarly, I was thinking about another metaphor with my imaginative eyes after this quotation. And I watched a seagull being dived into the water in search of food and met a fish there. And the seagull asked the question to the fish that how is it possible for you to spend all the time beneath the water? Instead of answering the question, fish put a question to the seagull and says that how is it possible for you to live all the time without water? So there is set of questions in everyone's mind, but we humans still progress and move forward. What if I ask you that you encounter few of the people around you to answer your questions with the wisdom they have? And today we are going to have Search Personality with us who is going to answer your questions, who has joined us live from United States of America right now for this next 20-30 minutes, where he is so much gracious that he has given us the time to share his wisdom and to answer your questions and comments upon the philosophy of life, how he is going to see the adversity and the challenges. He is the one who has gone through his experiences and is going to tell us his story as well. I'm talking about the person who is high performance coach at Marcel's Coaching. I'm here joining you to welcome Marcel Butnaru from United States of America, and I hope that you are going to enjoy the discussion. How are you, Marcel?
Yes, I'm good. How are you, Ashada?
I'm good and fine and I'm excited. Thank you very much for your time. Let's start the discussion with Marcel's introduction. Marcel, tell us something about yourself that who are you, what are you doing, what is your current business status and all that stuff.
Sure. So I'm originally from Republic of Moldova. That's kind of like a smaller country, from Eastern Europe part. It's next to Romania. And I've been living there until I was 18, since until college. And I started getting, involved a lot during my high school, like in personal development, and it kind of like I was doing a lot of projects in my country, going in different schools and presenting about human, potential, how to create organizations, basically for the children and the kids, youngsters, how to better their lives. And I was doing that, getting involved also in different European Union projects, to bring them home, to bring the funding, and to bring, basically, to bring the resources, right, to the children so they can grow and they can expand beyond their just their regular studies. And after the high school, I had the privilege and I went to study in the United Kingdom. That's when it was kind of like the main shift for myself as a personality because, going from home and moving into like a totally different country with and different culture, different language, having to meet different people. It's totally different educational system. That was the moment where I had, kind of like change as a person because I was in a different environment, right? So it was, of course, it was stressful, it was difficult, but there was no other choice, right? I decided to be there, so I had kind of like to push through and learn and expand and basically make it work. After during my like studies, I had also the privilege, to work at high companies like Hewlett Packard. That was like kind of like when first I had to expand again, because it's a totally global corporation, and my role was very independent, which means, I had to decide my own schedule. I had to decide my own project. And this made me kind of like expand and made me understand that, hey, like, that's a great opportunity, right? And in order to make it work, I had to be the best version of myself. And that was the first step towards where I realized that that's actually very important. After I worked around for like 14 months and I finished my college in UK, I got the opportunity, to move to United States. Initially, I didn't really want to come to United States, and pretty much it was because, like, if you think about it, right? I already moved into a new country. I was there for 4 years. I had to like learn the culture. I had to learn everything, how everything works in the country. The educational system and financial system. Like everything. And now to leave everything behind and move to a different country was like a risky move, but what kind of like pushed me forward, it was a thought, we live just one life, right? And you always want to try, and whenever an opportunity arises, and if you kind of like have that gut feeling and it pushes you to go beyond your comfort zone, that's the moment when you have to decide, do I go beyond my comfort zone or I stay in my comfort zone? So I said, you know what, like, let me move. If I don't like, I can always come back. And that was in 2016 when I moved here in the United States. And it was a total different experience from what I was thinking, right? Everyone is like, oh, you moved to like a different country, especially America, right? Like it's the land of opportunities. Well, it is a land of opportunities, but you have to work very hard. It's kind of like I had been put into situations where I was really down. That was when like my confidence, coming from UK where I had a very great job, like I had friends. I moved to a country where I had no friends, nobody knew me. I had not a lot of money, and I had to kind of like find my way, find my path. And what is like even the worst situation for me was because I came married, and throughout like the first year being United States, we divorced and we separated. And that's where like the kind of like, the mindset shift started, because I was really feeling, like kind of like down. I was feeling very depressed. I didn't believe in myself. My confidence went like rock bottom. And it was like within the first month of suffering, that's when I was like, looking at different, watching YouTube videos, like listening to different positive content and knowing that there is another life and that I can still push through. And it was like an interesting quote from like one of the videos. I don't remember exactly who it was, but it was saying, your destiny and your life is not shaped by what happens to you, but what you're going to do about it. And that was a moment that kind of like, like shifted inside me. And I realized, okay, then all these things happen to me, but what I'm going to do about it. So I started, like being positive about it. I started accepting that whatever is happening for a reason. And I have to learn from them and grow. I started being grateful for what I already had, because we always can find, like positive things or find things we can be grateful for, right? Like, and when you get into a place of gratitude, that's when I started feeling content, and that's when I started to build like a vision for my future. Like kind of like look where I want to be, what I have to do, and analyzing all my paths. And since then, I decided that my mission is to like create an impact, help people, coach people specifically, because as I mentioned earlier, like I've been doing that, since high school technically. That was kind of like my internal passion. And after I went to a UPW event, that's one of the Tony Robbins event, that's when I realized that that's my mission and that's what I really want to do. And since then, I like listened to hundreds of like hours like in audiobooks. I, like researched and read a lot on like even YouTube. And I moved on and did like free events of Tony Robbins, like to understand more how our mind works and basically how to like live a beautiful life, right? And I studied also about NLP. NLP is the neuro linguistic programming. It's basically how our mind and body works and programs us to function basically at like neurological level. And also I'm doing also Tony Robbins coaching school. So kind of like I decided that I want to invest a lot because this is my mission and I want to impact people, and basically working with clients and seeing, like the best part about it for me is when I see people making progress, That's what like makes me content and happy, because I know by bettering people's lives, they can, in return, they can go on in the world and help some other people. So it's kind of like it's a compounding effect, and it's a network thing.
This is compounding impact. Really good, really given us the snapshot of the whole life. Thank you very much for Marcel's. Let me know a few of the questions came in my mind with your discussion going on. For example, when you were moving to states, it was second time you were migrating from one country to another country. So you think that any experience in life is always going to pay you off. Number one, experience is always good. Then why it was that that when you entered into this new country, you were having that kind of feeling that you are all alone and you have all the problems to face. Number one. Number two, you have told us that you have been working for as a high performance coach. Now we would like to know that what this word really means, high performance coach. What is all about it?
Sure. So to answer your first part of the question, so yes, I moved like technically, like I moved to United Kingdom, and then I lived there for 4 years, and then I moved to United States. So whenever you move to a new country, of course, there's very challenges, especially when you don't know people, right? For me, it was like moving to United States was a big leap comparing to the United Kingdom. I had already friends there, and it was kind of like a college period, which is kind of different, right? Because you go to a college and you're already gonna have people in your class, so kind of like it's a different level of relationships, right? You go somewhere and you know what's your goal and what's your target, and you get into an environment where people will welcome you. When I moved to the United States, I came like I didn't even know a place where I'm gonna live, right? And I knew only one person. I didn't know them personally, but I kind of like started talking to them, and I knew them like right, like not at very deep level. So I had no family here. And when I say it's difficult, it's not difficult for everyone. And when I say it's hard, it's what it means is, of course, it's hard because it's a totally new country, right? Like it regardless of the country. If I would not move to the United States, if I would move to Brazil, for example, it would be the same situation, because you kind of like get into an environment where it's not comfortable at all, right? You have to learn their culture. You have to learn even from the basics of finding a place to live, how licensing works, like the basic stuff, which is, and finding a job as well, right? It's, you get into a place where it's not comfortable, and that's when it becomes hard, and you are in a place where you have to push through, right? It's because
In
there's
your
not a
case,
choice.
Butnaru, in your case, when that point came that you converted your thought process to gratitude one, where you start thinking that that destiny is what you are going to work upon. In that case, when that turning point came, was there any mentor or just the quotations you were watching or YouTube videos you were watching? Was that the only thing that turned you out, or do you need? This is the question for all the audience. Do you need a mentor or a person or a loved one around you who tells you to have that switch on and off at that time?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. I strongly believe having a mentor is very important. Now, we live also in like social media. We have internet. Everyone, pretty much, a lot of, like, let's say the majority of people around the world have access to an internet, and we have access, like, to platforms like YouTube. Having a mentor doesn't necessarily mean someone you can afford to talk one on one. It can be even watching their content, right? Finding a person who probably did your path, like, let's say someone who's been through similar situations, or someone who have struggled your problems, kind of like struggled and had your pains, and they pushed through. That's a mentor for you, because you can listen to their content, and that's what I did. I kept listening, for example, to Tony Robbins, because he, in the early young age, he was really suffering, right? He had an abusive mom, he was poor, and he achieved greatness, and that's where I want to achieve. So by listening to his advices, listening to his stories, that's where you kind of like, you realize that, hey, like, yes, I'm not in the best situation right now, but in the future, it will eventually be, if I keep myself like kind of accountable, fill myself positive and I keep taking actions. And when you have that mentor
let,
that you can
let me
see your
ask
path,
you, let me interrupt you there. Your one comment is not making me move forward because there arises another question. You told us that you can have a mentor even visually, that the
yes,
person who has already gone through these stages of life, and you yourself being a high performance coach, you tend to come across people who need your coaching, who are who are business executives or vice presidents or presidents or CEOs of the different organizations, and you are going to coach them. Now the question is that if you are not being president of an organization yourself, how you're going to coach them about their high performance, whereas you are saying here that being the mentor means the person has already gone through those stages of life from where you are moving now.
okay. Now that's where the confusion is. A mentor and a coach are totally two different things, right? A mentor is a person who have done the path, and you find someone, and it's basically as a human being, right? When we think, okay, I want to find a mentor. When my advice for everyone, if you're looking for a mentor, you have to find someone who have done who has what you want, and finding out what they did and basically getting advice for them to follow the steps, right? Let's say that you want to open an X type of company, or you want to achieve an X goal. And if someone you know already achieved that, find out from them what they did and what worked to get there. Now, a coach is a totally different person. A coach is someone who will help you achieve your potential. It's someone who sees outside your box. So, like, for example, I have people who are earning $500,000 a year, and someone who makes $50,000 a year, from different areas of their like experience and kind of different parts of their like. Someone is in a business, someone is working. It's a coach, and my goal is to see what's happening outside them and push them through beyond it. Right? It's what it takes is moving them one step ahead, kind of always making sure they move ahead, regardless of their like industry or regardless of where they are. Because high performance is not about it's not like a fact, it's not math. It's basically doing the best you can on a daily basis. And when you do the best you can, that's when you eventually achieve your potential, and you kind of like go beyond and achieve all your goals that you
Marcel, I cannot move forward. I am unable to understand your talk. I cannot move forward. Let you help me. See, you are saying that a coach tends to make the person look outside the box. I am asking you, you being the coach, you are half of the age of the president who you are going to coach. Half of the age have not that much experience, have never seen that industry. How you are going to let him see outside his box, being president of that company, whereas you have not gone through those all those stages.
Well, the thing is, you don't have to. Let me explain so it's very easy to understand. So, as a coach, you never give advices. It's not. Let's put it that way. It's not me to tell you what to do, because you want the life you want, right? Like, who am I to tell you what exactly you want to do? A coach is someone who can see your potential. When I say by potential, it's not about like, oh, you can go and make X amount of money. It's more of the actions you can do. It's more seeing if you're living a comfort zone, if you live at cause or you live at effect. It's mainly let's as a human being, when I say outside the box, is like we always, most of the times, even if we believe we see outside the box, it's still a box. We just make the box bigger. When he's a coach, he's kind of like here, and he sees everything that's going around. And with targeted questions and with the right questions, you guide the person to realize what they have to do, because the power is always inside of us.
Okay, that is great. That makes sense. Now let me know, Marcel, that once you had been into that stage and you started feeling the change in your life, and then you thought that you should spread this positivity around you. Now, currently, what is your mission in life? What and why and how? Tell us some of the surgical details which would help the young people, audience worldwide watching you right now, help them to replicate at their end the same mission and what and how and why of yours to be replicated by them.
Yeah, so the thing with like the mission is, I want to just like make a quick point. The mission, whatever, when you decide what your mission are, it should always come from your heart. And almost most of the time, the heart comes like the kind of like the ideas come from inside, right? And consciously, it might not make sense, but when it comes from within, that's where you have to go with, because the heart usually knows what's the best for you, right? And my mission is like by 2023, I want to impact 1 million people. And also like some people might like think like, oh, but how are you going to do it? So let me tell you something. Whenever you come up with a mission, the how is not important. It's important to know your mission and to know it deeply inside of you, because when you know that you want to achieve something, your mind will find the ways. What I mean by that, you'll see suddenly that opportunities arise and the right people come into your life, and you'll find ways to do it.
Let me name this thing from other perspective. It can be called procrastination on your part. It can be called lack of planning on your part. It can be called less of learning on your part. You don't know and you are jumping into that much high five mission, making just the dream and not the mission itself in real sense. How do you take it? Don't you think that missing how part can be disastrous to your mission, number one? And number two, the question again comes in my mind, that why 1 million specifically? Why can't it be 2 million, or why can't it be 800,000? Why only 1 million? What is the science behind it?
There is no science behind it. It's the heart. Um, the more you make something complex, the more it's not going to work. And before, I was really, really trapped into like, into the kind of like the statistically and the facts of everything, like the numbers of everything. Not is everything is black and white. Planning is very important. It's very crucial, but don't get stuck into the planning part, because you can see, and you probably yourself, you've met people, you're seeing when they get stuck in so bad of the planning, they will come up and bring you 50 pages of their plan on what to do. And when you ask them, okay, and how is that working for you? All they have is 50 pages, right? And then you will see people who have 1 page of planning, but they did more than that page. So taking actions towards it is the most important, right? And when I say like the how is not important, because if you get stuck into how, you end up 50 years of planning rather than taking action. So it's mainly coming from your heart and knowing what your mission are, knowing like what your purpose is. Planning is important, right? Like you make a few points and you see like where you're kind of like your steps, and putting your heart into it and your actions, and start taking actions, you will see that everything starts to reveal, because your plan will always change. It's not always consistent. And to answer your question, why it's 1 million, I don't know why it's 1 million, but it came from me. It's 1 million, right? It's kind of like a milestone as well, but you're right. Like why not 2 million? Why not 3 million? Why not 5? Well, I don't really get stuck into that. It's more like it came from my heart, because you're right. My heart would have told me like 2 million, right? But it came 1 million. So that's where like I accepted. And also it's very important while we pursue our mission, always be content and be happy with where you are, because your plan or might not work the way you want it, or some like life will reveal not the way you expected. But living in a place with no expectations and being open for what's coming, that's really important, right? Because it's kind of like
That's great. That's great. My few of my old friends would be laughing at me right now, because you have told us the exactly the opposite thing, that that much planning of 50 years or 50 pages, and as compared to the person who is bringing you only 1 page. Let me announce here that a person would be a foolproof person if both of these things unite together. For example, if a person is planning better than a normal one, and he is converting those plans into actions more aggressively, then it would be a person with the least margin of being error or missed out. Now, I was reading another article which was saying exactly the way you are telling us, and that was termed as fail fast. You don't have to work that much hard into planning part. You go, you experience, you even fail in that experience. You fail and you fail fast in that experience. You come, you revert back, you pivot yourself, and you come again into the field again with more equipped in terms of experience of the initial failures. I totally agree with that. And let me know that in another interview of yours, I was listening to your part of that 7 steps to of that why to start anything. When you are talking about that 1 million and you're saying that it is coming from my heart, that means that it is gut feeling of yours. Now let us know that that why part and how to go on that 7 steps process of finding out your why. Let my young audience who are new entrants into the industry, let them understand that concept from your wisdom.
Yeah, so the concept is basically, it's very simple. It's actually very simple. Everyone can do it, like even right now. It's when, regardless of what goal you have, if you have a mission or it's a goal that you want to achieve, or it's anything that you want to achieve in your life, it's very important to know why you want to do it. Because in tough moments, that why will keep you accountable and make you push through the problems and the difficulties. And in order to find your why, that's where I was introduced to this concept by Dean Graziosi. And it's very simple. You start with the first question, like let's say, well, it can be simple. I want to lose 10 pounds, for example, right? You ask a question, why do I want to lose 10 pounds? Then you're going to come up with an answer. Then you ask it again, why? And you do that 7 steps. And when you do them, really focus and really come from a place of like heart, like kind of like open your heart and be honest with yourself and answer it 7 times. And at the 7th time, that's what is going to be your definite why. Because usually what's on the surface might not be actual truth, but when you start digging deep down, this is more like a science, right? You start digging it deep down and finding like what's the actual core, like what's the actual deep inside, what's your true why.
And it is mandatory to have the 7 steps. If a person thinks that he has arrived the final answer at say at fifth stage, still he has to go to the count of 7.
Yes, yes, that's important. It was funny for me when I was finding for one of my goals, right? Like what's my why? I stopped at number 5, and I thought that's it. But the key behind it, you have to keep pushing through because there's something more. Even if you think like, oh, I answered twice why, and I think, oh, that's my why. Yeah, it might look great, but that's awesome because it's part of it. But you have to dig deep down and see what's the actual core, because sometimes we don't realize why we do the things that we do, right? Like if you, I've been amazed when like, and even myself in my life, like sometimes I ask like, why do I do that? Oh, like I don't know, right? So it's always, there is a reason behind it, and that's a process, and you do the 7 steps to find out the truth, right? Like the one in the core. But it's yeah.
That is great, Marcel. Marcel, let my young audience understand. I don't know about your part of the planet, but on my side, there are many few new entrants coming into this industry of training, mentoring, and coaching, and they're finding it difficult to find the difference, real difference between all these three. Now, if I am to ask you that if coaching is that much important and you are into this phenomena yourself, how to kickstart coaching as a business or as a profession for a new entrant, for a new person who is into the coaching thing, how to kickstart, what would be the first few steps to take even from today?
So it's mainly like knowing who you want to help and what you want to help them with, right? It's figuring out kind of like what I'm passionate about. And coming from again, I keep mentioning, I don't know why, it's all about the heart, like your questions that mean it, they all come, and it's coming from the gut. I like saying it comes more like from your heart, right? And knowing what you want to help people with. And then an entry level, there is no specific way of doing it. it's very important for the intention if you want to do it and you come from a place of heart. And now there is so many resources online. Like even if you Google how to become a coach, right, you'll find out so many resources because I'm a true believer that we all have the right resources, right? But we sometimes we're not resourceful. So being resourceful is finding all those resources, being in a beautiful state, right? Being in a positive mindset. And if you set your mind, like that's my mission, I want to coach people and I want to help people with X, Y, Z problem, you will find the answer for your path. Like there is no like black and white, like that's the path to take if you want to become a coach. There is like hundreds, thousands of paths. And I'm not sure which, for your audience or for the people in your country, which will be the right path to take. But again, internet is so available that you find the way as long as you really, really want to do it, right? As at the heart, if you really want to help people, you'll find a way.
Okay, I also don't know exactly my audience is because this is going live worldwide. I don't know who is watching at least. No, let us know that if looking at the current times, current testing and challenging times we are all encountering nowadays. Now the new entrant as a coach wants to pursue in the career and he wants to generate some revenue to give him the comfort on the financial aspect, and whereas when he is going to interact with the organizations or the executives, they are not into the mode of giving the business, they are worrying about their own survival thing. Now where is to create that delicate balance between that business and adding value to the lives of the people? And when we look at the perspective of the potential clients, do they think coaching as necessity in these current times, or do they think coaching as just a top up function which can be luxury enough to have it sometime later when the things are normalized?
Yes, that's a good question actually, because I have myself a coach, so I know the importance of having someone to guide you through. And during like the times where things are uncertain, right? Like there's a lot of uncertainty. We don't know what this disease is. We don't know how long it's going to last, right? We don't know what's going to be in the future. So it's very unprecedented times. The environment is very uncertain for us as human beings. And when that happens, we tend to get into a survival mode. Like we've seen on the news, like people keep rushing to the stores, they buy everything, they always live in a scarcity that something is going to happen to them, like there's not going to be enough of them. And during these times, that's when it's really important to have a coach, or if you don't have a coach, like have a mentor, right? Because you need to be able now is the time to keep yourself in a positive state, keep yourself with a positive mindset. It's a great time to look for opportunities, right? Let's say if you have a business in a store, right, in a traditional business, now is the time to find ways to move online or to market yourself online. So there is always opportunities and being resourceful about it. But from what I see, people tend to like get their comfort zone and they hide home and they watch TV all day, which a coach will usually push you through and get you out of that comfort zone. Taking time to rest, that's important, but also using the opportunities and expanding, that's even more important because that's what pays off in the future. And maybe, I don't know, Shazad, if you want to add on this question as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. But one thing which is pitching me up, still sticking to that question, that, for example, if you are a coach and I am a potential customer or client or an executive in an organization, you come to me in these current times and you say that you are going to coach me. What would be running in my mind? Why to have a coach for the business which is already drowning down?
Well, the first part is I'm not going to come to you to say coaching. You'll come to me and say that you have a problem and you need coaching. So um, it's like, let's put it that way. It's not my job to convince that you need a coach, right? Because if you don't believe that you need a coach, you need time to realize that. So like that changes the story. Like I personally speak with people who know the importance of coaching and they are seeking for help. And my only thing is seeing how can I help, because not everyone is suitable with me, right? Like, as much as I want to help everyone under certain like circumstance, it might be might not be the best person to help them in their situation, right? So it's more like it's an interview, right? Like we find a way how to help, and we see a way if we're suitable for each other or not. Because I'm looking for, as much as kind of like coaching is a business, that's the business side, but I'm looking for people to get results. So I'm looking for people who are like 100% in. Like you have to be 100% in, because the most work happens when we are not talking one on one, right? It happens afterwards. And if, let's say, if someone doesn't take any action when I don't see results, I don't feel content, because my ultimate goal is creating an impact, right? Making people better their lives. So that's where the difference is behind like me, see, like making you believe you need a coach. The difference is you have to show me that you are 100% in, right? So it's a different shift.
Yeah, I agree with that. Few in my last organization where I was working informally, like as a coach, I came across many of the people who were senior to me, directors and vice presidents and all that stuff. On that designation, working so much hard in the organizational hierarchy, I had faced many people telling me during their travel, during their stays together in the hotels, out of the organization, in their away days, informing me, sharing me their personal details, that they feel themselves as successful executives in the business arena, but still they find themselves as not good fathers, bad husbands, and incomplete or unsuccessful failure sons and daughters. So you see, there is a sense of accomplishment and a sense of need of a coach around you, and it is irrespective of the high organizational success you have already have pocketed in your career. So I agree that a coach is not to go to the clients, but the person who wants to add value in his life must find a coach around him. And now, tell us something about your typical day, Marcel, in these current times. You were sharing me that you still travel a lot, and yeah, just being the role model for us. Share us your typical day. That what do you do, especially in your 24 hours, and to be very specific in particular, how you make yourself learn and develop every day.
Good question. That's a great question. The only remark I want to make is kind of, I'm going to kind of like share mine, but people should remember it's not black and white. It means that everyone's is different. And I'm going to go back a bit to the phrase that regardless of what your day looks like, as long as at the end of the day, you know that you did your best, that's when your life is going to move forward. And I think I'm not sure. I think I met you also in the group, the 5 a.m. club, right? I believe so. So like that's what I basically start my day off. Like I do the 5 a.m. club. I'm waking up every day at 5 a.m. Some days it might be like 1 or 2 days, but it's kind of like 5 6 days. It's always consistent. And I do my morning routine part based on the 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma, right? And I advise everyone to read the book. It's a great book. And I found myself that waking up earlier in the morning, that's when I'm more productive, the most productive. And I do the most important things on my schedule, which I believe that are going to help impact my life, my business, like kind of like grow as a human being. I do them from 5 to 12. That's the period of time when I try, like to do my highest performance, right? Do the things that help me push me forward. And after that, now that being in a quarantine, right, we have a lot of time. That's when I'm gonna like either work out, either spend some time with my girlfriend, spend some time with my friend. I'll go for a walk. I'll go outside, because getting fresh air is very important. And then the last part of the evening, that's where like I start like kind of like working on my business again. And that's where like I get in contact with people, because regardless of the COVID-19, there's so many people working online. And for them, the office changed, but not their kind of like routine, right? They're still working from 5 till the evening. And that's when, like in the evening, I start connecting with people, I start like researching, I start getting and going and adding value basically. And then till the end of the night, when I have free time, that's when we kind of like get some time with my girlfriend again. I'm going to read some books and kind of like reflect on my day, and I try to go to bed earlier because I wake up earlier, right? But it's never the same kind of, and probably for you is as well because I want to tell everyone I tried so many morning routines. I tried so many kind of like routines throughout my life and see how it works. And nothing is black and white, and don't make it too complex because what I've realized that the more complex you make, the less you're going to execute upon. It's kind of like have some bullet points, some main objectives of your day, what you must accomplish during the day, because you're not going to do everything you want in a day. But as long as you do three things that that these are the must for you, that's when your life changes.
That is great. That is a great comment on my part. Yeah, I totally agree that I have also tried many of the routines and find that a person who is getting up early in the morning is going to make the difference. For example, in my case, there are so many years I cannot recall a day when I was late enough to not to see the sun rising up in the day, and usually I found myself among the people who usually have 15 months in a year, only because they are start up early in the day, and by 9 a.m. in here in this part of the planet Earth, I usually am done with more than 50% of my daily tasks. And tasks, by task I mean the long term tasks which are going to impact the life. So this is the common thing we both carry together. Let us know that if a person who is watching this program and he or she is inspired enough to have a few of the wisdom filled techniques from you, is it possible to for him or her to contact you? And if the answer is yes, how and what it is going to cost him or her, or what would be the frequency of that interaction, all of that initial surgical details if you want to share.
Yeah, so if anybody wants to contact me, probably in the live in the Facebook, you can see my name and my profile. That's the quickest way to get access to me. And if someone wants to see how to like better their lives, I always offer them a free impact call so we can see how to help and see what issues you have and what help basically you need, and seeing if we have a right fit for each other.
That is great. Acha, another question, comment came that great conversation from Samina Kamar, and she says that things should never be taken as black and white. And here I disagree a bit from both Samina and you, because in my life, what I have learned it hard way. I have learned that a person should go to exactly to the books and black and white once master that art, and then he may revert back to that loosely knitted overall scenario. Once you are going to have that bullet points in your mind to have impact daily basis and just the vague idea of the day, but in your real sense, in the core of your heart, once you understand that I can work upon minute by minute and I can live upon second by second, I know how to master that art, then it will become more of a confidence game, and you are going to get most out of that 24 hours if you have already mastered that thing by going that much surgical. I have done this thing for a couple of years in my earlier age, and now I am learning the art of unlearning all those things. And now I am going to that part of that phenomena which you are sharing, and I am having that much, exactly that much advantage of having the combination of both the patterns of life. What do you say about it?
I partially agree with you. It's when, and I think as I see the question, Samina. It's what it's not black and white. It means if this worked for him, it's definitely going to work for me. Or if that book preaches this, it's definitely work for me. I've seen people, and probably if you do your research, very successful people who wake up at 12 during the day, and they work all night, and there's successful people who wake up at 5 a.m., right? And then, which means there is no, like, when black and white, there is no fact that, okay, if you wake up at 5 a.m. every morning, you're going to be successful. It's bullshit. It's not going to be that, because it's not just waking up at 5 a.m., right? It's more behind what do you do about it. So it's more how you tackle your day. What do you do on a daily basis? And you can even wake up at 11 a.m. in this instance, right? If we show with this example, you can even wake up at 11 a.m. And if they keep pushing forward and they take all the necessary actions to get their goals, they will achieve them regardless when they wake up. Like, these are kind of like tools and hacks to help you get more motivation, right? And get better. But everyone is different. Like, and you're right, Shazad. Like, the system you just said, it's great. That's what worked for you. This system might not work for Samina, you know? So, like, we're all different human beings, but never stop. Always be curious about it. You can even add things from your own, right? Like, in your life, you can see, like, I've seen journaling works for me. It doesn't work for someone else, right? So there's so many like tools, so many ways to become successful. There's no
You know, Marcel,
definite path.
while we are launching ourselves towards the end of the program, and you are making the people confused in their terminology, what we have said in the last 30 minutes is to rise early, and now the audience or myself are a bit of confusion that if I'm not to discipline my life, and I'm going to stay up in the morning at my well at 11 a.m. or 12 p.m., what is going to make the difference, and how I'm going to stand above average and pursue all those dreams which I have to impact 1 million people by the end of 2023, and I'm living the life like anything. Then how I'm going to stand out of the mob?
So that's a good remark. So it shouldn't create confusion, right? Now let me tell you from a point of mindset. If there is one person watching our live and they sit on their chair and they heard me saying like, "Hey, you can wake up 11 a.m. It's fine," and they go happy, it doesn't really matter. It's all a mindset thing. When I mention about waking up at 11, because like for example, people who know Tony Robbins, he works until 4 a.m. So he works at night. That's what makes him productive. Of course, he's not going to wake up 5 a.m. It's kind of like common sense, right? Because you need sleep. So what I mean is being productive, regardless of what routine you take and discipline. If 11 a.m. is the perfect time for you to wake up and be up until 3 a.m. and being disciplined and consistent about it and taking action every day, that's what is going to change the game. So it's all behind, as you said, being disciplined and being always giving 100% from your side. All the other things, the tools, the techniques, the strategies, these depends on everyone's person. Because for me, I love waking up in the morning, and that's what makes me productive. If let's say if John wakes up at 5 a.m. for 60 days and he doesn't feel good at all, maybe he needs to change the strategy. So that's a good thing.
Now,
It's a try
okay.
thing, but see if they work or not.
That now that really makes the sense, and that makes me sit comfortably on the chair, because yes, you have now connected the dots that whatever the routine you are adopting, you have to discipline it. So the basic thing is to discipline your life. It is not the routine, it is the discipline, in fact, which is going to make you propel towards the dreams you have. Now, just a few last question, just a few minutes before we close. You have said that you have gone through many of the books and audios and the YouTube channel things. Let us share few of the highly recommended books or videos which a new entrant can watch and take advantage.
Yeah, so it's basic. Like my mentor, but my biggest mentor is Tony Robbins, right? I recommend everyone. Like that's the biggest tip to start is kind of go on YouTube and put the Six Human Needs by Tony Robbins. It's a TED Talk. It's an awesome TED Talk. It's probably going to change everyone's life. It's amazing. It talks about the six human needs. Now, if I would pick one book that I mostly loved is probably is I think it's The Richest Man in Babylon. And the second one, I'm not sure if you heard, if you read it, Shazad. It's a great book. I loved it. And the other one is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I've listened. I'm more like audiobooks. I listen more to the audiobooks, but I've listened to it like 10 times. And every single time I discover new things about myself. I would say it's more like also it's kind of like it's a meditation book because it shows you so many metaphors and so many small stories that you kind of like understand and realize things about your life and what you have to change about it. And it talks a lot about the discipline and being positive as well.
Do us a favor that you are going to come write the name of the TED Talk and the names of the books in comments column after the
Yes.
program concludes. And before we leave, another audience from our side, Salman Haider says that like Socrates said many years ago, the unexamined life is not worth living. In order to unlock your full potential and achieve your greatest dreams, you need to take a step back and examine the kind of life you are living. So he's saying that you must take a pause or look back on your past, what you have achieved, what you are looking forward, how much important it is, Marcel, in your life, and how much frequent you do that.
Yes, I think it's very important that we always have to kind of reflect and see what's our journey going, and also analyzing and seeing like, am I moving towards my goals or I'm drifting away? That's very important. And also, throughout the life as a human being, we change. And it's important to see if it's still congruent with us and see maybe what I can improve, what I learned so far. And this helps you kind of like get inspired more and motivated by your journey because a lot of times we take for granted like everything that happened so far. And when we reflect about our journey, we realize that, oh, hey, like actually I did a lot and I've been through a lot and
How frequent you do that? How frequent you do that? And is there any person who shares that progress with you, where you let him watch from an observation point of view and guide you about it, or you do it by yourself?
I do it by myself, and it's usually when I do my meditation practices. I do a lot of breath work in the morning, and usually when I do that for 10 minutes, that's when I do the breath work. It's kind of like a mix with meditation. So that's when I kind of go back in my life and start seeing all the events that happen. I kind of like analyze them, and 10 minutes is pretty much enough. And doing that, you always kind of like you keep yourself grounded, and you know what you've been through, and you realize, okay, is it I'm still congruent, like where I'm going, or maybe I need to reflect even more of what's happening right now.
That is great, Marcel. It takes a man with a mission to succeed. It takes a
Yep.
man with a mission to succeed. And I have heard once that the whole universe can stand aside and let the man go who knows where he's going. With that, I really appreciate your time and wisdom sharing, and I really wish you good luck with your ambition of 1 million people, impacting positively with your endeavors, and with similar thoughts at my end. I wish that we both meet together on that 1 million mark, where
Yeah.
we both may claim that we have positively impacted the people around us, and the number is more than 1 million by the end of 2023. You rest assured that if that there is a person who is living with similar thoughts, with similar framework of mind, and who is working day and night while the other people are sleeping. He knows that where he's going. With all the good luck and with all the wishes and hope for well-being at your end, take very best care of yourself, and thanks again. We'll meet again. Bye
Yeah.
bye.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Bye bye.